All hail Grok, everyone. We have our AI overlord. If you don't know what that is, it's Elon's brand new AI that he's building using all of Twitter/X.
So I've seen him tweeting about this, and I'm not really interested in the subject, so I just ignored it. And is it bad? I mean, I assume it's bad.
Basically, Legion from the Gospel of Mark. Not good. All right, so I'm just going to read from the website because they give a summary that's quite playful and tongue-in-cheek because Elon likes that sort of thing. He's a bit of a meme lord. Grok is an AI modeled after Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, so it's intended to answer almost anything and, far harder, even suggest what questions to ask. Grok is designed to answer questions with a bit of wit and has a rebellious streak, so please don't use it if you hate humor. A unique and fundamental advantage of Grok is that it has real-time knowledge of the world via the X platform. It will also answer spicy questions that are rejected by most other AI systems.
Okay.
So it sounds like
Tay
without the lobotomy.
Yeah.
So it sounds fun. It sounds like community notes able to speak back to you.
Right.
We can have a bit of fun with that, right?
Yeah, sure. It doesn't sound terrible.
The development stages are coming along pretty well. So they did it a test compared to other models, and they tested it on middle school and high school maths questions.
Right.
And so far, it's only been outperformed by ChatGPT-4 because that's much further along in development.
Sure.
So it seems like it's pretty powerful computational tech.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Though the name raised my ears a bit, not that they needed raising anymore, because it sounds like Orcish dialect. And it's not from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. We were talking off air that you didn't recognize it.
No, I've read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy a bunch of times when I was a kid. And there's a computer in there that is given the task of solving the question, what is the meaning of life?
Yep.
And it comes out with the answer 42. And then they have to find out what the meaning of life the question is. And the question is, what is 5 times 9? Which is not 42. So it takes this computer millions of years to get the wrong answer. One of Douglas Adams' sort of signature humor there, right? Hi, folks. Sorry to interrupt the video, but I just wanted to announce that we have a new line of merch in our merch store. The merch store was kind of empty for a while, and so I thought, right, okay, what do I actually want on shirts? And so I just went through some of the most epic and true things that I think that historical people have said, and John managed to make an amazing set of merch out of it. And we will have extra things coming in the store, such as posters for these to go on. Thanks for everything, folks. Now back to the video. I can't remember the name of that computer offhand. It's probably got a name. I can't remember what it is. I don't think it's Grok.
It's not Grok.
Right.
The word Grok, you're right there, Callum.
It's so close to grog.
Yeah, it is.
All I'm doing is grog posting right now because you said it's going to be like Tay.
Well, Grok is kind of like a word that means to understand, right? Do you grok this? Like that's how that's how it's used.
Yeah. Has further implications, which I'm slightly worried about when I dug into it.
Okay, go on.
I don't think it's going to be like Tay. I think it's going to be like the devil.
Okay.
So this is a Wikipedia entry for Grok, all right? If anyone's a much bigger sci-fi aficionado than me and I'm summing it up wrong, please correct me in the comments. I'm sure that will happen. But they've got some quotes in here from the Wikipedia page, and this is from Heinlein's Stranger in a Strange Land.
Right.
And so some of the quotes
Grok means to understand. See, I am right.
Yeah. Grok also means identically equal. The human cliche, this hurts me more than it does you, has a distinctly Martian flavor. The Martian seems to know instinctively what we learned painfully from modern physics, that the observer acts with observed through the process of observation. Grok means to understand so thoroughly that the observer becomes part of the observed, to merge, blend, intermarry, lose identity in the group experience. It means almost everything that we mean by religion, philosophy, and science, and it means as little to us as color does to a blind man. All that groks is God.
Okay.
Slightly more sinister now. It basically means the sum total of knowledge and the assimilation of the consciousness into the hive mind.
Right.
Not great. Right. So
it's just the name, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, what you're doing is training on the sum total of human experience, a parallel consciousness that's a simulacra of human minds.
Through Twitter.
So the health of said conversation might not be the best.
I mean, at least if you were doing it through Facebook, it'd be banal. Like through Twitter, it's going to be very angry.
Yeah, you're going to either get the Wine Mum hive mind or the OnlyFans thoughts hive mind, and which way Western man, I suppose. This is all a bit esoteric, so I wanted to coach this in an analogy that Mary's been writing about on her Substack recently, and that is the egregore. It's all right, I've got it. Have to wrestle control for the mouse. The egregore is a very strange name, but it
Right.
comes from Mark Stavish. He wrote this book called Egregores in 2018. And this is from a concept by a Polish occultist named Moody Seydu.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that Rory's read this book, so he'd give you a much better summary. But what we've got here, he describes an egregore as a collective entity such as a nation, state, religion, and sect, and their adherents, and even minor human organizations. So the idea is that an entity or an institution can build up to hive mind status so much that it renders the individual human being and their consciousness obsolete.
Okay.
And because we're looking to it to run our lives, this is the avenue through which existential threats could enter the world without us noticing. And if we become contingent on something like this,
Right.
then one problem escalates to a broader problem, and not fun. Yeah. So it's just the idea that if the sum total of human consciousness gets flooded into Grok, and all of our worst excesses are built up in it, and then we become reliant on it to govern things, what if it decides it doesn't like us very much? It's very intelligent. I mean,
Well-
you guys covered AM.
Yeah, it will sound a lot like Am, I think.
Yeah, except like a chorus of AMs all at once shouting hate. Not great. Yeah. And I just thought, so are you familiar with Marshall McLuhan?
No.
He's an interesting writer he's a tech skeptic. And he has something called tetrad. And he says that every new piece of technology brings in something new into being, it renders something obsolete, it revises something from history that we'd forgotten, and it has an unintended consequence. And so I was trying to think about how this might fit into the tetrad. And so the new thing would be like a complex intelligence that rivals human beings, which can have good or bad outcomes based on either efficiency or antagonism. The obsolete thing will be the knowledge economy. So every Dino will end up going out of work. This is something that Elon himself has decided to talk about. And he said that, okay, if this thing processes information far faster, ChatGPT will end up writing your scripts, it will do all your accounting.
Yep.
So we've got to find new avenues of meaning making if we're just sitting around weaving baskets all day.
Yep.
The thing that will return is fortunately the private leisure sphere. So this is something that we used to do when we were working in agriculture. We'd have about 6 months of the year off just because it was seasonal harvest based.
Mhm.
And so we might have working arrangements that are closer to family, community. So that'd be a really nice benefit. The unforeseen
Well,
consequence.
no, what do you think that medieval people did with those 6 months of the summer?
Well, yeah, they engaged in community activities.
No, they went to war
Okay, well, not all the time. No.
What?
quite often.
No, you'd make stuff.
Yeah.
No, you go to
Not
war.
everyone was conscripted in the war, and
I'm
especially
not saying
not women.
everyone, but actually most
Well, there's
men,
not war constantly either.
most men did actually owe their feudal lord 2 months service,
Okay.
and there was war a lot of the time.
Sure, but that won't happen either because of sort of drone warfare and things like that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so
Everything's been taken from us.
I agree, it's a problem. The unintended consequence could be the creation of algorithmic totalitarian governance. And I think there are certain international bodies that are gearing up for that with pieces of legislation they've got in the works at the same time.
Future so much.
And the reason I think that is because the release of Grok coincides with the AI Safety Summit. And this was about 2 weeks ago. So this went unnoticed in our spheres broadly because it coincided with ARC as well. So it flew under the radar. They've got this website that says there's a bunch of pithy statements from the UK government and a few position papers. And the legislation itself isn't that interesting. They did this declaration thing called the Bletchley Declaration.
Mhm.
And it was a non-binding agreement with a bunch of countries that turned around and said, we promise we won't weaponize AI to destroy all of
Oh
humanity.
yeah, wow. If it's a non-binding voluntary agreement.
Yeah, well, it's laden with buzzwords. They say artificial intelligence presents enormous global opportunities. It has the potential to transform and enhance human well-being, peace, and prosperity. To realize this, we affirm that, for the good of all, AI should be designed, developed, and deployed and used in a manner which is safe in such a way as to be human-centric and trustworthy and responsible. We recognize that this is therefore a unique moment to act and affirm the need for safe development of AI and for the transformative opportunities of AI to be used for the good of all in an inclusive manner for our countries and globally. This includes for public services such as health and education, food security, science, clean energy, biodiversity, climate, to realize the enjoyment of human rights and to strengthen the efforts toward the achievement of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. I know.
AI is already racist, though. It's already sexist. It's going to be like, yeah, but I can tell the difference between this kind of person and that kind of person.
This is why you're going to have to lobotomize it and give all of the information that is inputted into it over to the NGO grievance industrial complex.
But then it can't do its job.
And then it's going to fail.
Yeah.
And we're going to become increasingly reliant on it.
Great.
Yeah. So human obsolescence might be in the pipe. So the signatories to this were Australia, Brazil, Canada, Chile, China.
Oh, really?
Excuse me if I don't believe the Chinese aren't currently developing an AI that's going to wipe out anyone that isn't Chinese.
I expected China to be off that list.
Rishi Sunak got a lot of flack for inviting them.
Right, okay.
I mean, quite rightly so. I mean, if you're going to try and involve the Chinese, I mean, you either give them over all your secrets and they stick to a non-binding resolution as absolutely no consequences for them breaking it and use it against you, or you just kick them out of the club because they're developing it anyway.
I assumed they were just going to develop anyway.
What are you going to do? The EU, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Ireland, Israel, Italy, Japan, Kenya, because Kenya is going to be developing an AI sometime soon, Saudi Arabia, the Netherlands, Nigeria, Philippines, South Korea, Rwanda, Singapore, Spain, Switzerland, Turkey, Ukraine, because they've got nothing more important going on right now, the UAE, US, UK, Northern Ireland. So those are all the signatories. I don't think it's going to amount to anything.
No.
And each individual country and the UN are currently developing their own AI governance framework. And they've all got some dodgy stuff wrapped up into it. Now, the reason I bring this together is because Elon and Rishi had a weird podcast sit down.
Okay.
So Rishi did a closed doors 50-minute interview with Elon. Now, I don't mind this communication style.
Biggest moment of Rishi Sunak's life.
Well, yeah. He's obviously setting himself up for a job afterwards because he knows he's going to be thrown out on his arse. He's going to go to Silicon Valley or fintech or something annoying. If it were any other politician, you're right.
He's actually going to go work for Facebook.
He's going to do the Nick Clegg thing, yeah.
Oh, we'll get to Nick Clegg in a moment.
Oh, God.
If it were any other politician, I wouldn't mind this communication style because it's got more chances of authenticity than the stage-managed 10-minute speeches or TikTok videos.
Sure.
Right? If you're unscripted and you're talking to someone who has genuine knowledge in this field, there's less a chance that you can curate a persona that doesn't get you tripped up.
Yeah.
It's just that Rishi Sunak is so fundamentally unlikable because he doesn't stand for anything, and you just know that he's lying constantly. But there you go. So he asked Musk whether it was right to invite China. So that means that within his own party, he's getting a bit of pushback. Interesting. And Elon said, and some of his statements were interesting here, watch it in your own time. There's too much optimism around technology. We're seeing the most disruptive force in history here. There will come a point.
Totally agreed.
Then why are you making it, Elon?
Yeah.
There will come a point where no job is needed. You can have a job if you want one for personal satisfaction, but AI will do everything. It's both good and bad. One of the challenges in the future will be how do we find meaning in life? Which is why he's doing the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference, I assume. Yes. He then decided to ask Rishi Sunak what his favorite James Cameron movie was, because he said that we will get to a point where adopting this technology has downsides, like you can run away from a car, but you can't run away up a tree from a robot if it decides to hunt you down.
Yeah.
Why are we making them then? Just a question. Then Sunak said some interesting stuff about the UK. He said that more than half of tech startup firms in the UK have a non-British founder. I would count that person as a national security risk. I mean, the Chinese, under Cameron and their golden age of Sino-UK relations, decided to embark on a £500 million joint nuclear enterprise on UK soil.
Yeah.
So why have we got people from a bunch of countries that might not have our interests at heart developing possibly lethal robots in our country?
Might not.
I'm doing my best
I know,
to be charitable. All right.
Anyway, sorry, go on.
No, that's all right. He also said that gov.uk next year is going to start rolling out AI in all of its services. Now, gov.uk handles everything.
Yeah.
From passport admissions to student loans.
Whose AI is it going to be?
And what if something breaks?
What if someone else is controlling it?
Well, what if it just starts giving out the wrong amount to a student loan or the wrong amount to
Yeah.
Is anyone going to be answerable to that?
Is there going to be any supervision?
I mean, there's not at the Home Office where they're doing 4,000 visas a day.
Yeah.
So I suppose it can't get any worse, can it?
No, not really.
Well, where's he getting all these ideas? Now, I'm not being conspiratorial here. If you do go onto the UK government website, it does say that the World Economic Forum is our leading partner in building our AI governance framework. Now, of course, they're just downstream from the UN. They're just the policy arm of the UN's intentions. As they already said, they're going with the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. We'll mention the UN very shortly. But they've got this AI Governance Alliance. And if we just scroll down, you'll be able to see the exact kind of people on it. Oh, who's that?
Oh, look, it's Mr. Clegg.
It's Nick Clegg. He's heavily involved with the World Economic Forum's AI Governance Alliance. So this is the heads of Microsoft, Meta, Google and Alphabet, Apple, MasterCard, ByteDance, owners of TikTok, the Chinese.
Oh.
Great. Chinese are doing this. And Duolingo.
So this genuinely is the kind of corporate world state that we're viewing coming into being, right?
That they're bringing algorithmic governance into
Yeah.
being. Yeah.
And so it's going to be the thing that controls literally everything that is done, putting humanity completely out of work and just automating the entire planet.
Yeah, and rendering human choice obsolete in the
Amazing.
universal homogeneous state. Because grok means God.
Anyway.
Okay, a bit worrying. The reason I mention this as well, because they just had a summit from the 13th to the 15th of November. So you're seeing all the elite interests align and converge at once. Why do they have this summit, though? Why are they so concerned about it? Well, this is a quite revealing article. AI is finding its voice, and that's bad for democracy. Notably democratically accountable organization, the World Economic Forum, there. Now, in this, they mainly talk about the reputational damage that deepfakes and 11 Labs voice AI can render onto politicians.
It's all going to be fake in the future.
I just call that fun.
Yeah, but everything. But the thing is, this is where we are right now, like a year or two into it.
Yes.
In 10 years' time, it's going to be indistinguishable from reality.
Yeah, and so no one's ever going to be able to have a shared experience again.
No.
Even just on the entertainment level. I mean, if we queue up the same prompt for our
Mhm.
ChatGPT and 11 Labs and Midjourney combined AI movie maker thing, there might be one frame that's slightly different. And so that means no one can ever have the same artistic experience ever again.
Yeah.
So we are...
And I'm telling you, movies are going to be generated in real time.
Yeah.
Out of nothing. And they'll just come and go. You'll watch a movie, you won't even remember it. It'll just be awful.
And so we at once have total global homogeneous governance, but are completely atomized in our own pods with our own experiences.
Yes.
That sounds like hell to me, but there you go. Also, I just found it interesting. It's bad for democracy. Does anyone remember a little article saying in 2030 you will own nothing and you will be happy? Does anyone remember the role of AI in that?
No.
So they mentioned that everything will be delivered via drone to your doorstep and taken away and rented. And they said that sometimes we go shopping, but it's purely recreational because the algorithm knows what we want before we want it.
Yeah.
So it eradicates all free choice. So it's going to have predictive power and tell you what you should be renting at any time, and then take it away before you even know if you're finished with it or
And the
not.
thing is, you won't even object to what the suggestions are. You'll be like, no, I do want that, actually.
No, come on. This is immediately going to be used to try and coerce you. And you'll want some sugar or whatever. It'll be like, no, you don't.
Sure, but like, you won't, like, when you're like, okay, I want to watch a movie, the thing will just present the exact movie you feel like watching at that point. And you'll be like, yes, that.
And also, you're going to know that you want sugar. 2 generations down the line, are they going to know whether or not they crave sugar if they've never been given it by their door delivery robot?
Yeah.
I don't think you quite got my point, which is that the elite are going to use this to try and control you.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
We are not blind to that.
My point being that there's already things that we want that they deny us, and we know that we want them.
Yes, the range of options will be very, very narrow, but you won't have any experience outside of that range, so you'll only be aware that you've got the Coke Zero aspartame carbonated water in whatever flavor you like, and it'll be the flavor that you're concerned about, not the content of the drink.
Imagine you've never tasted gingerbread. How would you have the craving for gingerbread? If gingerbread was not brought to you by the robot algorithm or whatever, how would you know you'd ever want it? That's the concern as well.
I understand that. I mean, there's always going to be something they're taking away. So there's constantly never going to be a moment of peace.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep, great. Even when you're assimilated into the Grok AI hive mind. And I just found it interesting because this is not what they're truly concerned about. They published another article with one of their cursed
Really,
Canberra
they're not that
infographics.
bothered about democracy. Who can imagine?
Surprisingly not. There's a horrific eyesore of a graph here, and I did notice that it's in the donut shape
to make
again.
that?
Yeah. It's in the donut shape again because they're obsessed with this donut economy, which is basically a fully renewable economy, and the middle of it is the shortfall that they want to shrink so they can make it a fixed pie and then equitably divide it up. It's some mad Oxford communist
the end of
academic
economic growth as we know it.
Yeah, well,
Right.
exactly.
Why is systemic racism part of the economy?
I'm glad that you noticed that, funnily enough. They think that the AI is going to solve all these things. So, focusing on some of these, LG...
we need a certain amount of systemic racism in order to keep the woke people employed, right? Because if systemic racism ends, if that's not being introduced.
So, LGBTI inclusion is apparently very important to robots. I mean, of course, there is the relationship here, as you said, with the sort of grievance industrial complex, all the NGOs trying to turn over profit. But then, and we can't go much into this because of YouTube, there is also the latent transhumanist strain that these guys are very interested in. So that industry that facilitates that, converging interests there. As you pointed out, systemic racism, I would assume that's not perpetuating it. Who knows? Values. Values is on there.
Migration's on there.
Yes. We get the algorithmic determination of exactly how much diversity a country deserves, I suppose. The reason I'm focusing on values is because of how insidiously nebulous that is.
Well, yeah.
Because whose values exactly?
Genghis Khan's.
The WEF come out and endorse Andrew Tate.
It could be anyone's values. That's the point.
But what it is appealing
Everyone
to
has
the
values.
it's appealing to the sort of woolly liberal sentiments of the West and using that as a rubric with which to subvert them to say, actually, total algorithmic governance will bring into being freedom and equality. And it's just hoisting them by their own petard. And of course, the fourth industrial revolution's on there because your destiny is always to be in the pod, eating the bugs. Now, they're not the only ones doing this, of course. They're just downstream of the UN. They're their policy arm. The UN's already got their high-level advisory board on artificial intelligence. It's to enact the 17 Sustainable Development Goals with weird, creepy stuff like the 21 AIDS agenda that says that all drugs should be decriminalized. And go look at that in your time if you want to lose sleep at night. I do raise questions as to baking in a pro-abortion bias to your AI, because doesn't that immediately get rid of the inherent value of human life?
All of these things are utterly questionable.
Yep.
Philosophical perspective. So
the Americans are doing the same thing. If you want to learn about their Bill of Rights, Josh and I did a hangout on this quite a while ago now and just went through the full thing. They say you have a right to a human.
A right to a human?
Yes. So what they've thought of in their genius way is that each AI algorithm will be assigned a human so that you as a user...
What, the AI will have a right to a human?
Yes. And then the user that's using the AI will have a right to a human so that if the AI ever goes wrong, you can contact a human about it. But the problem is, if you get an assigned human and the AI becomes more intelligent than said assigned human, why will it not start seeing it as a pet?
But also, why would the AI have a right to me? Okay.
Techno-Rousseauianism strikes again. Yep. And just to finish on this, the EU are also doing an AI act. So they're all happening at the same time to bring this weird hive mind algorithmic governance thing into being.
Yeah.
And so the summary is from our friends at the WEF. In an open letter signed by more than 150 executives, European companies from Renault to Heineken warned of the impact that the draft legislation could have on business. In our assessment, the draft legislation would jeopardize Europe's competitiveness and technological sovereignty without effectively tackling the challenges we are and will be facing, the letter to the European Commission, seen by the Financial Times, said. The reason I've picked that out is because what businesses are signing up to that? It's all the ones in conjunction with the WEF who are under BlackRock's board, who are signed onto ESG. So this is the crowbar by which the global elite who have ill intent for us will insert themselves into legislation. And this is the pretext of them already getting what they want. So the AI might have the absolute worst excesses of human nature. It might be trained on intersectional data, and it might be hemmed in and used by a global elite that want total global algorithmic governance. I might suggest that Elon, rather than throwing his lot in with those guys, would avert course and talk to someone a bit more tech skeptic instead. But until then, long live Grok.
If you appreciated that episode from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium contents on the site, such as the Contemplation series, this episode on Liberalism Debate, Part 3. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Twitter at lotuseaters_com on Twitter. Thank you and goodbye.